What? You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Well, it is Saturday, and I do have to say this here. We are only a few short hours to I make another orbit around the sun here. So for those who are in the audience who I've been talking to since the show started or before this episode began, I will be 10 hands plus a finger on tomorrow. So with that being said, welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here, and it is what it is for right now. And tonight's topic is one that I just have to come to grips with because I don't know, I've been talking to a lot of people here, and it is what it is here. And it's just kind of like one of those things that, when you have a bigger collection, I don't have a big collection like some of the other people who I hang with, but I do have a relatively large comic book collection. And it gets to that point where you kind of get to that stage of there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems, and you have to know which direction you want to go and how you want to go about it here. But before we get into all of that here, let's go ahead and get business in things out the way here. I know you guys know about Stupid O'Clock and all the other stuff. I'm going to show the graphic anyway. Stupid O'Clock is actually on right now, so they actually start right about the same time. Well, actually, they start an hour earlier now instead of an hour after. So they're currently on right now. There's no more Last Man Standing. Yes, there's still Nevermind the Furthermore with Nicholas Tucker, because why? I saw an episode of that this past Friday here. However, he will be back on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And let us not forget about Comic Book Spectrum. That's going to happen this Thursday again. I do apologize for not reviewing the first 2 issues of Planet She-Hulk here. I held off because I wanted Cliff to be here, because I really want to do what really grinds my gears about certain things and certain titles that just makes me just cringe. But you're going to have to wait into Comic Book Spectrum, which is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays here. So with that being said, we are going to hold off just a tad bit because I want to get to the comics here, because we was talking beforehand and everything. And I came a day after that. It's like today is the Fantastic Four 65th anniversary. That is actually true here. Spoilers, there is no problem. It's like, yeah, there are tons. There are tons of problems. Yeah, there are tons of problems here. The biggest wow. BD says, like, don't be mean to Mr. A.A. Ron. So that's where I actually came in at, and that's where I would say, hey, and then the error says, like, yay, BD defends me. I go, yeah, this might be short-lived unless you give her doggy comics. And then he laughs. I was like, no, I'm actually not joking here. And then Tat comes in. It's like, yeah, gun is. And then what happens? B like, Yeah, I want Doggy Comics. Doggy Comics, where? And then everybody was greeting Tat, and then we get into everybody saying hi, and then yeah, Aaron loves the theme song, loves the show theme song, and I'm happy that he does here. And it's not my birthday yet. We still got a few hours before all the happy birthdays and everything. Yep, 10 hands plus a finger. Everybody with the birthday wishes. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to check out Stupid O'Clock later. That's if they're still on. That's if they're still on, because they sometimes they run very, very long, and sometimes they run no more than 2 hours. So by the time you get there, because this will be in like their second hour, so it is what it is here. No, if we're going to if we're going to write lyrics to a theme song, I think I have an idea of what I might like here. See, that's the thing. You made 25. I think I'm in like 23 or 24th year in my 9 to 5 job, which I don't like it. 5 Yeah. B says Joey V, he's fucking free. Yep, that's the one. That's the one that they came up with. For those who may not know, it's like, did I add that yet? No, it is not. I thought I added that. Where did it go? There it is. She's talking about this one here.
It's Joe Timothy walking down the street. Oh yeah, with comic books in hand.
Hopefully you guys can hear it. If not, let me go ahead and do this.
He's taking his stand. Remixing Wonder Woman.
That's the song that they were talking about a few seconds
ago. No patrol or challengers. All they got is heart. Oh yeah. Selena, Jane, and Diana.
Well, that's playing. Why not? Why not? Oh,
he's always shaking it down.
Take it for a week.
In funky fresh threads, McPhee is painting the town. Joe McPhee. Joe McPhee. Funky and free. Come on now.
We're just going to go right into the new topic for the week here. So we're going to start it off with
the classics. You know what I mean.
Another copy of Lost Plains 7. Again, this is another upgrade to the one I actually have here. And then we're going to add one that I didn't have, which is Lost Plains 74. Pretty nice. And then we're going to go into some Outsiders Volume 3. Why? Because Outsiders Volume 3 with stands of practice, which means that this stuff is good. Bruce takes away from Bruce. He doesn't add to. So that is the real good.
Condition, large or small.
And
his favorites, old school.
Oh, there's a lane. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
I know I'm younger compared to you. Again, I have always treated you like an older sister. Not like how most other people want to call you out your name. That is what it is.
Collected all the classics. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's not right.
He's crushing your dreams.
We got some Volume 3 Outsiders. Best volume outside there and Batman. We got a copy of issue number 3, issue number 5, issue number 10, issue number 26, 31, 32, and that completes that little bit of a run. Then we got one more go here. I believe this is from volume 2. Issue number 18. People are happening right now. And then, there's Matt. What's going on, Matt? How's everything going? It's like being is dancing and loving the comic book. Oh, just dropping by to say hello as well. Hello. Now, I got another copy of Collector number 1 from the 1996 series. Pretty good. Then we're going to go back to Jack Kirby for a second here, and this was New Gods number 12. But by this time, they said the return of New Gods because it went so many issues, and then they stopped it for a couple of years, and then when they brought back this volume of New Gods.
It's Joe Timothy walking down the street.
The phone ran that long?
With comic books in hand. 80s
Well,
sweet.
we went through the whole song.
He's taking his.
So we got that. So now we got issue number 12 here. So now you guys can hear me a little bit clearer. Then we also got number 29 from all new Wolverine here. So we're getting closer to finalizing and finishing up the all new Wolverine series here. Yeah, I kind of figured it just restarted here. Was Lex getting... Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or issue number 3. They're up there. It's like, I'm going to bring it for you guys to see it here. You know, you got Nightwing and Metamorpho in the background saying, it's like, the Joker is killing Lex. It's like, so should we care? Question mark. So yeah, good too, Funky and Free. Y'all are funny. Yep. So now you guys know here, and one of the better sounds that you guys like to hear here. We're about to go ahead and show you that I finally got a copy of New Mutants 28. So technically, and I'm going to say this cautiously here. Oh, wait a second. So Beanie does the newsstand dance. I'm burning, still burning, doing the neutron dance. Nightingale is still jealous. Yep. So going back to what I was saying here, I finally got New Mutants number 28. So technically, and this is technically we should be able to do. And the reason why it is a technically is mainly because, one, I own 2 copies of New Mutants 98 from volume 1, which is first cable, which is second print. I don't have it first print. Secondly, I do not have a first print of New Mutants 98. I only have facsimiles. So technically I have the whole run as it was meant to be printed. However, I just don't have a first print 87 and a first print 98. So it is what it is. I have 2 copies of the gold 87s and 1 or 2 facsimiles of 98. Yeah, red is first print. Red is the first print. Red is the first print here. So that's why I said technically I have all of volume 1 now. Now I have shifted my focus to getting all of volume 2 and all of volume 4. So with that in mind, we got volume 4, issue number 3 and issue number 13. So we're at slowly but surely adding that to the list here. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. So Aaron, remind me, because I'm going to put a pin on that particular comment because I just got through talking to someone else about that. And this is why I said this reason why the topic is the way that it is, the problem with collecting comics. Yeah, Deadpool sucks. New Mutants 98 is one of the worst books I have ever read. Well, it's one of the worst books you ever read because it introduced all these characters without no development for them. So I'm trying to get closer and closer to have all of volume 2 of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Well, so and this time around we got issue number 45 and 46 that came in. This is another series that I'm trying to take a good look into, which is Panther that we got from Dynamite Comics, which is Panther number 5. And then we got Tales of the Champions number 3, the Tigress issue here. Now, I didn't realize that this was originally called Tales of the Champions here, and it wasn't fully focused on this character here, but it is a short run of 4 to 5 issues of that series here. And I'm happy now because I got a better copy of AXA number 2 from Eclipse Comics. Now, for those who know about AXA, this is a foreign, actually really a foreign-born comic here. In the United States, they did 2 runs of this. One by Eclipse Comics, which only went 2 issues, and then there was another one from a different publisher that went 8 volumes, and they were done in volumes, like in prestige book format here. Then we got Eraser number 20 here, which is interesting here. And then I forgot, this is Razor from volume 3, if I'm correct here. So this one is volume 1, and this one is volume 3, which is issue number 3 from that run. But that plus a couple other books here. I got a couple of my submissions from CGC back, from my artist account back. I have already put them in storage here. However, the only person that knows which 2 books that they are is Elaine, because she actually watched me draw them at C2E2. So yeah, I did send that Storm book and the one Amazonia book back here to CGC. They both came back 9.8 here. And I know you guys are going to be up here. It's like, we want to see, we have to see, we must see. Okay, fine. We want to see here. Bear with me for another second here. I have to remember my whatchamacallit number. Bear with me for another second. I don't know my artist account number by heart, so just bear with me for a nearly second here. I just have to grab this one other thing here before I could type this number out, before I could show you what came in the mail that's already in storage, and they will be made available at the next comic book convention that I attend here, because again, I don't always send artist books to CGC just to sit in a collection here. I usually take the stuff to shows and sell them if need be. But that's if people are interested. So I try to do as much art as possible here. So we're going to do it old school way. Oh, I thought I had it here. Yeah, come on up. There we go. These are the 2 books that was done. And I know Elaine already knows which 2 books are being done here, that have been done. And I still feel that she should go ahead and get hers done. Oh, we have Missy Mars here. What's going on, Missy Mars? I didn't. Yep, she's like, I ain't telling. Yep, being the man to see everything. She is like, show. So this is the Amazonian one that I did here. That's the front and back. So I have done front and back covers for that one here. So that's the one that came back at 9.8. So we got Missy Mars here that showed up here. So there's Missy Mars. Everybody is having fun. I think, and this is the one thing that I like about this here. Oh, I have a few of those Razor books. Yeah, I'm trying to complete Razor as well. But like I said, we're going to get into the harder things here. Please, we oh, Air is up here. It's like I want rights to the remix. He's circumventing me because he knows I don't have copyright to none of this stuff. I just have to play it by ear. But that's the Amazonia one. And then this is the Storm one that I did here using a Storm number 1, which is also a 9.8. So I got them in storage here, and that's how the Storm number 1 looks. So those are the two books that came back from CGC here. Okay, there we go. So those are the 2 CGC books that I didn't show here, and that would conclude new comic book pickups for the week. Well, actually, the actual books were the actual books, but this is the stuff that came back from CGC. I do have 3 more CGC books still waiting here that's been paid for. And again, the reason why they are taking so long because 2 went to JSA certification here, and one of those books would probably be the only one on the CGC census that has the Chris Claremont signature on it that has been certified. There are no other records for a signature series for that book, let alone just JSA certified. So whether it comes back a 9.8, a 7.0, or 0.5 is a 1 of 1. And it also validates my story that I've been telling you about Chris Claremont, because I eventually did send that in here. Yeah, you do. You still need to finish up your layering and everything on that one. Yeah, that's in CGC's hand. That book is in CGC's hands, and the what was the other one that I sent? Give me another moment here. Give me another moment. I forgot what the other one was. And I also have my Wonder Woman 72 in their hands as of right now. So my Wonder Woman 72 is in their hands, and I can't wait for that to come back. So that is 2 of the major real books that I'm waiting to come back. I'm waiting for those books to come back here. So now, since I got the other account, this is the personal account here. So I have, oh yeah, I have also an Incredible Hulk 441 signed by Peter David that is being JSA certified. Now I have a 441 that's already a 9.8 grade, but I have the Peter David one that needed to get verified because again, I don't have COAs. I was the only one that was there to kind of witness it, but I can't just say, oh yeah, I saw it. I don't have any bearing on it, nor do I have rights authority by CGC to say that, yeah, I witnessed it. I do have my Ars account where I can say, yeah, I signed it myself for any cover that I draw, or to send anything that Elaine Size or anybody that works for me actually did. I could vouch for that, but I don't have rights to vouch for anybody else's signature here. So I have those 2, the Prudence and Caution number 1 from Defiant, and the 441 coming back, the 441 coming back, and I have the Wonder Woman 72 that I'm waiting here to come back. And they had those books ever since C2E2. So Yeah, we ran into a little bit of a problem. Everything should be okay. I'm just gotta be patient. Also, I need to get a Big Bertha back up and running to get, yeah, Big Bertha that she's talking about is her printer. It's her printer. She's not talking about, big, anything else here. Aaron, I have sent it via IG. You guess I go and check it. See, planning to do a remix of that. Send it to my email. Do you pay more for CGC sign books? Yes, you do. Actually, you do. You pay. It's not that much more. It's really not that much more unless you do the actual JSA certifications. The JSA certifications is, okay, put it this way. With my RS account, I actually pay less money to get books graded. Books that I actually worked on. I pay less money to get those graded. Things that I send from my personal collection or my personal account is what everybody else pays. So when I send stuff for JSA certification, it normally goes on my personal account, which is usually on average, it's about close to, for modern comics, it's close to like 90 something dollars a pop for JSA certified books. Regular signature series, if they witness them, is closer to 60. But that's because they witnessed them. They have their people handing the books over. They get them right away. Nobody else touches it and all this other stuff here. So yeah, you pay a bigger penny for anything that's JSA certified. So that's the major thing here. But anything that I work on, if I put my signature on like an Amazonia book, or I do a custom cover on books like these right here, if I do custom covers, I get a discounted rate to get them graded and validated that my artwork is on it as an artist. And to be quite honest here, that's one of the reasons why CGC is still kind of like the upper echelon as far as grading is concerned, because PSA does not offer the artist accounts at all, at least not yet. They're still trying to get their regular grading aspects up and going, to the point where they could technically offer artist accounts and stuff to that magnitude. But for right now, PSA has told me, be honest, y'all, that was like, we only been operating for for about 1.5 years. We're not ready for that. That's what they told me at C2E2. That's like, I'm kind of happy that they was up and honest about that, because that was one of the things that made me sad when, we got the news that CBCS was going away. But then again, CBCS has been rather strict, because I tried getting an account there for artists and never heard back from them. So, customer service is key in that aspect here. Which brings us to where I'm going to table everything as far as the collection update here, because it's neither here nor there. One of the things that I was going to do here, but I because of the way that we have everything set up, I was going to do some lettering as we talked about tonight's topic here. But we got enough people here that I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to have a decent conversation. So I'm going to table that here. So this is one of the chapters. I know I showed you the pages to these before here. This is for the first chapter of the next major title that's coming in through Legends of the Giantess Slayer. But I also want people to know, and I'm going to pull them up now. Again, I have to play friendly with the laptop, because again, I can't just overload it here, especially since I am streaming live here. I did finish chapter 2 to this story arc as well. So I'm going to show you all 8 pages of that as well. So that way you guys know that it was like I try not to bullshit people when it comes down to what we produce, how we produce, what's coming down the pike, how things are operating, where things lie at, because one, people have to know and trust that you are working on what you're working on. If you're going to be a comic book publisher, you're going to work on comics, and you're trying to show people that you're on the up and up on the up and up as far as on the up and up as far as trying to get issues and stuff out. You better show some work. Show the pages that you're working on. There's 8 more pages that I got a letter here shortly as well. So this is the second chapter of Large Marge. So this is kind of like one of the things that, I've been working on and everything, but we're not going to do the lettering and everything tonight because we got people here. I want people to know what's what here. Oh, I need to start working on my blank covers. Yeah, you have to. It's like that's money kind of left on the table here at comic book conventions if you do comic book art or go to Artist Alley and stuff here. It's like, oh, Joe Beanie is here. Yep. No, I'm not going to show what I can and can't show you. The stuff that I showed here is safe. Like I had somebody else kind of jump down my throat. It's like, why are you putting that putting a story like this in an adult book? It's like, it's not really going to go in the adult aspect of it. It's going to have a lot of adult themes in it, but it's not going to go into that aspect here. Yep. Marge, aka, and the reason it's called Large Marge is because the main character is their first name is Margaret. And one of the other secrets about this, and I'm going to let this slip here, and let me bring this back onto the screen here. All of the main players on the team here, their name starts with the letter M-A-R. So that was kind of like the thing, the major thing about this particular team here. I didn't want to single out just Margaret. It could have fit anybody. It could have fit anybody because of the simple fact that their first names all began with the letters M-A-R. So that's the cool thing here. Beanie knows adult themes and knows what is not for her. Yeah, and also Leia knows that I don't put things like that out there in front of Beanie in the first place. Not that way. Oh, so now Aaron's wife is going to be thinking I'm going to be making a comic book about her because her first name is Margaret. So it is interesting nonetheless here to get that stuff lettered and whatnot here. No, that's the reason. That's the reason why, like I said, people shouldn't have to second guess, but they should. People should second guess, but it is what it is. Going on 37. But anyway, tonight's topic is about problems with collecting comics here. And one of the things that I thought about this afternoon, and actually I should have said this afternoon. Yeah, she's more than an average 8-year-old simply because I married her to her godmother. Oh, that's funny. But the reason why tonight's topic is the way that it is because I came to the realization earlier this week, and it's messed up because originally I wanted to go with what is wrong with modern comics, and I was going to spell modern as modern, as in MOD hyphen N comics. And the reason why is because of the simple fact that I'm looking at where I'm at as far as my career in comics and what I actually collect, what I actually read, and everything. And I was about to be like, the glass half empty, glass half full type scenario. Then I looked at where I'm at as far as comic book collecting, and I was like, wait a second, this is kind of messed up. And the reason I say it's kind of messed up because, like, as I complete certain runs, and trust me, I have completed runs in several different titles. I'm looking at, there's not really much left in Bronze Age. There's not much left in Silver Age. For me to complete the Wonder Woman run is pretty much Golden Age and early Silver. And when I say early Silver, we're talking about, early 19, anything before early, 1964 and earlier. So we're not talking, we're not talking about, heart of, Silver Age and all this other stuff. We're talking about like 1961, 62, 1960s books and earlier. And then when I look at, all the titles that I do own that I care about, I have just about completed them. So that rules out, Bronze, Copper, and early Modern. So that only leaves anything that comes out recently or anything that comes up, that is Golden Age or early Silver. That is a part of my collections here. So I'm sitting up here with this quandary. It's like, well, what is really going on with the problems of collecting here? And now, since I brought that out, let me go here. It's like, one of my issues that I have completed runs and then I have to find and I find them at good prices. Yeah, that's part of the problem. And I'm about to go right back to that. It's like, my problem is that I ain't got the money to collect the books I want. Exactly. That's how I feel about the early Wonder Woman stuff here. And we have to explain to the girls that they do not have a that they don't have chest fat, even though they are girls. Oh, I thought you already knew that she was part of Beanie Five. At this point, it's probably going to be the Beanie 3. Yep, I got it for you. Bat. Look at me, I pay $1.99 for $300 comic books. What? Oh, she is not going to let that go. She is not going to let your Heroes Confine go. She's the Amanda Waller of the Beanie Five. But getting back to what I'm saying and bringing it back to what Aaron said earlier, and yeah, the CLC app helps me to see what I'm looking for, and it's a rush when I can mark off. Yeah, it is. That's what I use as of right now. And I still have books in storage that I have not cataloged to put into my CLZ app as of yet. So I'm still looking at runs of stuff that I have that I don't have in CLZ as of yet here. Yeah, Tat lives in a town where he finds cheap comics. Yep. That's right, Parallax. Well, I'm going to circle back to something that Aaron said earlier here. And reason why I said it is a problem more than anything else here. Oh man, I did. Yeah. Yeah, got to get those first print keys. And I'm up here, it's like, here's the problem. And the reason why I said I want to put a pin in that until now. The reason why I'm up here is like, oh yeah, you got to get those first print keys. It's like, well, you have to take in consideration of the pricing of those keys here. Everybody's planning to. It's like Grass Light say a proton pack. It's like I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this play. Let's do it. Tat 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 gets the books. y'all are funny, hilarious. But there's a reason why I don't rush out to get those first print keys. And the reason, and I'm glad that he brought it up when I mentioned about New Mutants 87 and 98. When you truly think about what the going price is for those first print books on the market as of right now, for it to be what I consider borderline copper, but I consider them more modern than borderline copper. For the prices that most people want for those books, and I told this to somebody else that earlier today, for the price of those two books, I'm able to maybe get 2 or 3 Golden Age Wonder Woman books or early Silver Age Wonder Woman books and be happy because I'm completing that collection from books that are harder to get. New Mutants 87 and New Mutants 98, they're plentiful, but people want to fight over it for that fight over those first prints because people don't want to give them up. But let's take a look at Golden Age books. It's like they really don't come easy, they don't come cheap. So when you do get your hands on cheaper ones, it is really worth your while to do something about it here. It's kind of like what I said about this book here. I still got to clean it up. And I'm still debating if I'm going to preserve it by sending it in to get it slabbed. My very first Matt Baker book that I have ever bought, which is Jungle Comics 103. Now, it's not Matt Baker's first work, but it's the first book that I have came across and actually purchased that has Matt Baker art in it. Now, you know, there's stains and stuff on the cover and everything. I had to do my absorbing and all this other stuff here. But if I would have bought let's just say the New Mutants 98, what I would have paid for that New Mutants 98 in first print would have bought me 2 of these. So you have to really pay attention to what really matters. And that's the reason why I say I did the quotation marks, because technically I have completed the run because I have every issue in that run. It's not all first print, but I do have every issue in some form and some fashion here. And y'all guys have been talking. Hold on, let me get back to where it says Tad is going to get a fist to the throat. Wow. Y'all are hilarious here. Yeah, New Mutants 87 is insanely overpriced right now because of the cartoon and people realizing Cable is way better than. Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. New Mutants 87 and 98 have been dollar books for several years until Deadpool became popular because of a movie. And then Cable rides that roller coaster of up and down based upon the X-Men cartoon series. And that's the whole thing. It's like, Cable rides that roller coaster. But Deadpool, after that first movie came out, it's just like, it never ceased. Yeah, that book was $50 last year. Yep. Yeah, you told him how I plan to take him down. I wanted to be a surprise. Y'all are funny. And Deadpool sucks. That's anyway. Except in the movies. You like Deadpool in the movies, you just don't like Deadpool in the comics here. Yeah. I could find that cable book for 20. That's another problem. That's problem number two, Tat, that you also bringing up. Geographical location. Yeah, you might be able to find it for $20, but my question to you here is, as finicky as most collectors are, does that $20 get you as close to a 9.8 as possible? In my eyes, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care because it's like, it is what it is. I'm not trying to do a whole 9.8 collection of New Mutants type stuff. And to be quite honest, I'm happy with my second print. That's one of the reasons why I was like, I never really went above and beyond the Call of Duty to try to find a first print of it. The same thing with 98, New Mutants 98. In one way, I thought I owned one, but I was like, no, after doing some searching and everything through everything that I have, and I still got plenty of books to go through. I don't think I ever own one. Now, I surprised myself with Ultimate Fallout number 4. I was surprised that I actually had one. I'm glad that I had one. I finally got it graded. It's preserved. I'm glad. But, that one was one of those books that's like, yeah, I could have sworn that I probably had one in high school. I knew I had the 87 from high school, the second print of it. But it is what it is here. Just say happy birthday, Throop. It was $20. Now it isn't. Y'all are funny. First print or second print? I always had second print. I never had a New Mutants 87 first print, and I thought I had a 98 first print because I remember at one time I thought at one time I had a 98, 99, and first and second print of 100. Ironically enough, I found my third print of 100 and a couple of copies of first print 100, but I can't find my second print. And it's just weird because the third print was silver, the second print was bronze. The background laying of the letters of 100 was kind of like bronze. It wasn't gold, it was bronze. That was the second printing of it. And then the third printing was silver. The red one is first print. Yeah, the red one is first print. Yeah, that was kind of the thing because, again, I get it. Wowzers. Yep. I kept saying that. I need the red one. That's the reason why I kept saying, technically, I completed the run, but I don't have those two books in first print. I don't. Mm-hmm. So she's already bartering for one. And Beatty's up here in the background like, yeah, correct. Cable always goes up and down. Yep. I'm going to have to try to find the books that I need to finish some runs here. But New Mutants 98 was a dollar bin book for several decades. And then all of a sudden we get the not the mini series, but it was like right before the first Deadpool movie, there was just a spike. Everybody wanted to get Deadpool. And I believe it was more because they did that Deadpool Spidey run that everybody liked. And then there was just a big spike and everybody wanted to do it. And the movie came out. And then from that point forward, it's just been ridiculous. New Mutants 98 should not be a $300 to $400 book. I'm sorry. Too many of them out there. And most comic book mongers want that big dollar amount. It is what it is here. Ironically enough, Tat, it depends on your budget. because I just got a first appearance of Apocalypse. He's talking about X Factor 8. No, X Factor 6. X Factor Volume 1, issue number 6. Surprisingly enough, I got one for about $26. So that is still affordable. But comic mongers, because of the X-Men cartoon and what they're doing now in the X-Men cartoon, they are using the evil word of speculation to gouge people out a lot of money. And because of speculation, they want, $50, $60 for it. But it depends on, where you could go and where you normally shop at, looking for the proper deals and everything, and going to all of the cheaper places. Like for example, I still use hipcomics.com. Saturday and Sundays, I frequent those 49-cent and 99-cent auctions here. And usually you could get some decent books for anywhere between 49 cents to maybe like, $5 to $10, depending on how old they are and how popular they are. And to be quite honest, I could probably show you a couple of things here, but I don't want to dox myself, but it is what it is here. Well, Deadpool may go down after that beef with, I don't know. Nah, Deadpool fans are Deadpool fans. No, the Dude Bros are morons. They would keep it high. Yep, exactly. That's a good question. I'm not too worried about the grade as long as it's complete. Exactly. It's just a matter. It's like I said, I track these things down. It's like, that's one of the reasons why I question how people use different sources when they buy comic books. Like, for example, Whatnot is a good resource if you put yourself on a budget and you are willing to let books go. And the reason why I say willing to let books go, you might have $200 to spend for comic books for the week or the month. On Whatnot, that $200 could go like that, and you might only get one book. You have to be able to put yourself on a budget and be able to let books go. Yeah, I found two of those. Ooh, really? Amazing Fantasy 4 for 1. Wow. Yeah, Leia, the Dude Bros are angry at Ryan Reynolds for his stunt at the press conference, as well as reminded. Well, that was the part of the gag. They were in on it. That's the thing. That's the reason why the Dude Bros are angry, because they're up there like my characters who I am a big Dr. Doom fan don't like what Deadpool did to him. This, that, and the other. It shouldn't be that way, but it's just stupidity. Yeah, and you're right. They do ruin everything here. And I think the way Run made it popular, and yeah, it made him a lot different than what Liefeld created him to be. Liefeld created him to be a spy, kind of like this assassin spy. It went over like a lead balloon. Nobody liked him. Way Run gave him personality. And then after Way Run, what did they do? They got the most popular Marvel character to kind of team up with him from time to time. And people got to see him more and got to see that version of Deadpool, and people fell in love with him. And then shortly after that, boop, movie. And that was all she wrote. Yeah, Liefeld had nothing to do with Deadpool being popular. His Deadpool was a throwaway character. Exactly. Because again, 98, they did not develop him. X-Force number 2 did not help him. Did not help him. Other X-Force appearances did not help the popularity of the character. The four issue miniseries did not help the character. It was the 3rd volume of Deadpool that made Deadpool popular because they finally gave him a personality of his own. Ooh, that is rather impressive. Yeah, the dude bros aren't smart to realize that comics aren't stocks and bonds. Well, that's the problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem with dude bros, but it well, I should say it that way. Dude bros in any genre, whether it be comics, whether it be movies, whether it be stamps, whether it be tube socks, anything that's collectible, they always want to try to treat it as stocks and bonds, and they know that there's always going to be somebody out there that's willing to pay X, Y, and Z for what they have here, instead of looking at why is it valuable. And that's the bad thing about it here. Yeah, he was that he was Marvel answers to Deathstroke, and nobody cared. Yep. And it failed. 2, he was not developed until way later when exactly. And everybody hated him, and yeah, because again, he had no personality. People keep forgetting the original Deadpool had no personality. He was a throwaway character. He was a throwaway character, just like Cable was really meant to be more of the center focus around X-Force. Because again, the original X-Force died. The original X-Force actually died in their first mission here. And pretty much Cable was working with Six Pack at that time. And they just took up the mantle. But again, it is what it is. Yep, he had 0 input. The only input that Rob Liefeld had was just the design of the character. He did not and this is the other thing that kind of ticks me off about who created who. There's one thing about designing a character, about how the character looks. Liefeld did that. Liefeld also designed Major X. We saw what Liefeld did when he wrote Major X. It flopped. Liefeld did not write Deadpool as a standalone character by itself. He wrote him as a supporting character in both the end of New Mutants and in X-Force as a somewhat villain. It wasn't until much later that somebody else got their hands on Deadpool and it became a popular character. So it goes to show you what really goes down here. Like I said, I don't realize how much of a blue chip book that this is, to be quite honest here. And hopefully more and more people will start doing their homework, or a lot of the artists that worked on Golden Age books. Because I've been learning a lot hanging out with Todd over there at the Time Tunnel Collects about a lot of Golden Age books that, to be quite honest, sometimes I just don't care, but there's people out there that would tell me about why they collected and what's in some of these books to make me care. And they start talking about the artists that makes me go back and be like, wow, I did not realize that artist had this type of career. And it makes me care. I might not care about the story that they worked on, but I care enough to start looking at their work. In this case, they made me start caring about Matt Baker. I started to start looking at his work. I started to start really truly studying his work and try to incorporate it into my own technique. That's how you know that a lot of these artists and creators and writers have a good impact on you. Yeah, that has nothing, has nothing like anything like remotely dropped to Deadpool. Well, Dude Bros are going to argue down on that because again, they cannot separate when somebody designs a character, it designs a character to bring them out, as opposed to really doing the true creation, the true background of these characters, and giving them more depth and light. Major X was hot for like 12 seconds. Yep. Rob went full Stan Lee, and Bob came with Deadpool when he had nothing to do with it. That is true. Being is like, got you a comic book movie. Okay. But they will say Stan Lee created Spider-Man when it was Ditko that did it all. Again, if we're going to be very, 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 very technical, Stan Lee technically did not have any hand in creating Fantastic Four. We all know who created Fantastic Four. Yeah, Stan Lee wrote dialogue for the characters, but we all know who created Fantastic Four. He was the one that designed every last story, every last character, every last thing that happened in those books were straight out of the mind of Jack Kirby. Stan Lee was pretty much the only man that came in and just wrote the dialogue for it to gel together correctly. If anything, Stan Lee was pretty much more of a good editor for Jack Kirby. But at the same time, you see Stan Lee's name on the credits. It was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby when it should be 100% Kirby. But that's understanding the nature of the business of how these stories come about being created here. Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Bob Kane came up with the idea. Bill Finger designed the character and gave it life. Bill Finger is now finally getting his just dues for Bruce Wayne. I had to put my tongue out there like sad character. But at least back then, Bruce Wayne made sense, unlike today. But it is what it is here. But that's understanding comic book creation here. There are some people that I could honestly say it's like, yes, if such and such designed the character. However, if somebody comes behind them and actually gave them life, maybe use like the base design and improved upon it and gave it life, gave it a background, gave it history, gave it something to bring life to it. The true creator is the one that makes it have life. But what people remember more so is who was the first one to put it out there, to put it on paper. But if you go back to Amazing Fantasy 15, that was not the original Ditko cover for Spider-Man. But again, people want to say, Stan Lee created Spider-Man. It's like Stan Lee pretty much did the same thing again. He bred life into Spider-Man only because he wrote the dialogue. Ditko did a lot of heavy lifting with Spider-Man. A lot of it. But I do have to give it up to Stan. Stan knows how to write dialogue. He has a way to make things make sense. But one of the problems that I saw in early FF is one of the things that people don't talk about anymore in comic books, which is the whole talking heads type deal. And what people think are talking heads is not what people should know what talking heads means. What the term talking heads in comics actually mean is while you reading the story or going along in the actual comic book story, you have characters in a panel that's telling you about action that's not being seen. And they did it a lot with Sue Storm in Fantastic Four, in earlier issues of Fantastic Four. You never see Sue fighting. When Sue subdues a character viciously, they kept the camera away from her, and one of the other characters told you what was going on. That's what talking heads mean. It doesn't include exposition. Exposition furthers a story along, and people want to equate exposition as talking heads, which it is not. The term talking heads in comics is representative of describing what another character is doing instead of showing it what's actually happening. So, the Fantastic Four has a fight with the Mole Man and his minions. And they're fighting, Fantastic Four are fighting off the minions and everything. And then all of a sudden you have a panel where Ben is like, "Oh, Sue, watch out. Oh, never mind. It looks like you took out 4 of them." Instead of showing how Sue took out 4 of them, you have Ben saying that. And they move the story along here because they don't want to show what Sue did. That happened several times in early Fantastic Four. That's how that term came about. What people who consider talking heads now is like, oh, we got so many panels of exposition. It's just people talking and 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 talking, and there's no action. That to me is like you're just allergic to exposition. If there's no action to be taken, meaning that it's not somebody is not in a fight or anything to that magnitude, you do build up a story that way. That's not talking heads. Talking heads is when you could show somebody getting punched out and you choose not to, you just describe it. You have another character describing it. That's talking heads. But that's something that people don't realize about as a whole here. Yeah, like FF, Jack Kirby wrote the dialogue in the margins. Yep. And Stan came along like the editor that he was, improved upon the dialogue, and the rest was set. Yes, I did see epic rap battles of history between Henson and Stan Lee, and that was kind of a low blow, but that was actually accurate. It's like a lot of the books that Jack Kirby worked on, that was of his creation. So we had things like Fantastic Four, early Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. All of those books, Jack Kirby worked on it from beginning to end. Stan Lee was just nothing more than a wordsmith that edited those books, and he got credit for editing. He actually got credit, actually creators credit for editing. And it wasn't like he wrote his name on Jack Kirby's comic books. He was the editor, but he should have never got creator credit for it. That was the thing that they was bringing up here. And Tat was saying he'd be right. Yeah, Bill Finger did everything and created everything you like about Batman. And I just said that. I said that. It's like Bill Finger did the heavy lifting. He did all the heavy lifting. Bob Kane came up with the design or the idea. That was it. Bill Finger did the rest. But people remember who did the original design. And that's what the dangerous thing about being a creator is. When people look at what makes something popular, who did the actual heavy lifting, the person who did the heavy lifting is not the one that is always credited with creating it. It was whoever it was the loudest, the loudest and the boldest with the idea and design that gets the creative aspect of it. Yeah, the suit, the look, the Dark Knight, the utility belt, the Batcave, the Batmobile, everything. Yep. The original Batman looked like a Me Too character from a Golden Age book. I forgot what it was, but he looked like, I forgot the name of the acrobatics character that he originally designed it. It was like they took like a acrobat's uniform and added these weird ass wings to it, and he wanted to be like Batman, where Bob Kane's design was like, yeah, that it was like a straight out of a Me Too Golden Age type look that he wanted for Batman. It just didn't work. Nope, it was Kirby. They took away the everyman aspect from Peter Parker. There was a lot of things that Ditko was saying that the world of Peter Parker should have never happened, and some of the reactions and some of the things that Peter would have done would have not been according to how he was moving the stories along here. And after so long of being told that he couldn't move the books along the way that he saw fit, being that he was if I could say, the foundation of what Peter Parker was, he leaves the project, and the rest of kind of was history. I mean, he left a big enough toolkit for other people to pick up and write Spider-Man or Peter Parker as a whole here. But yeah, there was a lot of things that he just disagreed with. It's kind of like the same reason why John Byrne left the X-Men. John Byrne left the X-Men mainly because of what Shooter said. What Shooter said was actually 100% correct. They went with Claremont's idea instead of his when it came to Jean Grey. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The reason why John Byrne left the X-Men and went to do Alpha Flight. And again, that's one of the reasons why you never saw me or heard me argue against your stance about Alpha Flight being a low-grade X-Men. Because technically it was. It wasn't a bad low-grade X-Men, but it was a low-grade X-Men because of the simple fact of what happened at that moment between Shooter, Claremont, and him. But it is what it is. Yep. And was getting zero credit here. Exactly. Those were the types of things that happen, but people don't understand what the term talking heads meant. People don't do their homework, especially comic book writers and creators. They do not do their homework. And it's like, I get talked about that a lot of times here, and there are people up here. It's like, well, you write a comic book script and you do this. It's like, why can't you do this more with action? Because you need exposition. You don't have people just do things willy-nilly. You have to have a reason to do stuff. So you might have, a couple of scenes where people actually have conversations that leads into action. That's not talking heads. Talking Heads is, oh, look at Lisa really put the wallop on that on that jewel thief. You need to show that. There's no need to have another character say, "Oh, that character gave them the nice little two-piece combo there." You need to show the two-piece combo. That's Talking Heads. But it is what it is. Yeah, I have to get up early tomorrow. I will see you lovelies next week. Leia hugs the girls for me. Good night, Elaine. Have a good evening. Yeah, like FF22, Sue gets, Sue gets her force field powers. Yep. Exactly. Everybody saying good night to Elaine here. Yep, it was like the Alice Scott looking type character. Yep. Joe Joe agreed with me. Mark the cap. See, that's the reason why I agree with you when it came to Alpha Flight, because it was his way of still doing a X-Men like story. It wasn't X-Men, but it was an X-Men like story. It was an offshoot. It was like, oh, instead of working in the United States, we're going to go to Canada and deal with Department H. And Department H has they don't have the same amount of money and all this other stuff to really deal with mutants and those type of characters per se. But it's enough there where I could have a few characters of my own and build them up the way that I would have built up some of these X-Men. That's what Alpha Flight really was. I'm looking at it, and for just to clarify for those people who are not saying Alpha Flight is X-Men, I was just looking at it from the standpoint of how another creator sees the team and what their goal was. No, he was not trying to recreate Wolverine or Cyclops or any of those other characters. He just wanted a team-based dynamic that felt more like X-Men, because that's where they was going at. Yeah, they think Talking Heads is the nine panel literally Talking Heads and like Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, that's exposition. The difference between exposition and actual Talking Heads here. Even my Sunday best haymaker does not phase that palooka. She's going into those panels that are really Talking Head moments where you don't show the actual action here. It was X-Men Diet Coke. Just 1 calorie, not mutiny enough, pretty much. But that's where things are at. That's where I see comic book collecting some of the problems here. And you get and you have to take what I say as far as comic book collecting a little bit more with a grain of salt based upon where you're at in collecting. Most of the people who talked in the chat today have been collecting for decades. Not for like 2 years or 3 years or 10 years. When we say decades, we're talking about 30, 40, 50, sometimes 60 years. So they see a lot of different books. They see how people go about collecting and everything here. And we see these trends come and go and all the roller coaster rides and everything to that magnitude. So that's one reason why I said that you have to take it with a grain of salt, and you have to look at your collection as your baby and how you want to really deal with it. And like I said, I'm at the stage because I'm really trying to complete volume 1 of Wonder Woman. I'm not going to spend the high dollar amounts for the New Mutants 98. I look at that $200. It's like, hey, I could at least get at least two to three issues from like Wonder Woman 120 to 129. At least 3 of those issues easily. So you have to look at it and play it by ear and do those things based upon what is important for where you're going with your own collection here. I'm not saying don't collect or don't do this or don't do that. I want you to really focus in on your goals for your collection. Whether it be My collection is going to be nothing but slabs. Guess what? Focus in on what's the best way to get your slabs here. Is it going on Whatnot and buying them as cheaply as possible or Whatnot? Buying the books raw for like, pennies on the dollars and then spending the bulk of it to send it over to CGC or PSA? There's many different ways that you do it, but it's your goal, your plan, your vision. Just like like I said, I got to that point in that vision. It's like I see the problem that's coming up for me. While I go out to all of these comic book shows and everything, and everybody's showing all these different books and everything, and they kind of get, it's like, well, what's on your want list? And I start showing my want list. They kind of look like, why is this type of stuff is on your want list? These, and these are books that they might rarely see, but I actually seek them out. It's not because they're golden age. It's not because they're not silver age. It's not because they're not bronze or copper. These are little known titles that might have some, in some cases, may have shorter print runs than all the more popular stuff that's out there. But it is what I'm looking for. But that's the key thing. Your collection is your personal thing. You have your own personal goals for it. So if you come across where you up here is like, well, the titles that I collect is this, and then the only thing, like I said, I got to the point where I'm looking at, unless there's something that is brand new coming out that I really, really want, my back issue collecting is going to be more shifted towards golden age in a few weeks. I don't know how, I don't know why. It's just that way. It is what it is. Okay. Joe's secret. I don't actually hate Alpha. I don't actually hate Alpha Flight, but the Legion sucks. And you want to know something? And since you gave me a secret here, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you a secret here. The only reason I like the Legion and I actually follow the Legion is because I collected a lot of Legionnaires and eventually fell in love with some issues with Mark Waid's run of Legion of Superheroes. That opened up the door for me to go backwards to at least understand and like some of the Legions of Superheroes of yesteryear, back in the Silver Age days. But if it wasn't for Legionnaires and for Mark Waid's Legion of Superheroes, you're right. It's kind of like meh. But for it to be one of the most popular books back in the day, in like the 60s and 70s, it does speaks volumes here. But for most people, it's just not their cup of tea. That definitely wasn't the original stuff was definitely not my cup of tea. But what people did afterwards, what the groundwork that was set with the original Legion of Superheroes, eventually got me into enough where I could say, okay, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but these runs of Legion of Superheroes is what I like. I'm not going to be like, oh, everybody should like Legion of Superheroes. Like, no, I can see why people don't like it. I can honestly believe and see why people don't like it. And I can see why some people love it here. Like the Reagan administration and prior. Yep. I started in the Clinton years. When did I actually start? I was pre-Reagan. I believe I was more Carter. I probably started in Carter administration. Yeah, I was 4. Yep. Yeah. Oh, she was saying I was such a cute little bird with my pigtails and my Batman t-shirt. Boo. It's like I was saying not to try. It's like not to try to tell me that Deadpool is important. Name one major storyline he affected in any way, like Cable or Galactus, or again, my whole thing here is like, tell me one run of Deadpool that made sense. That was not a team up with somebody else. That's what I put it back down to. Give me one good storyline with Deadpool, where he wasn't teamed up with somebody else and it made sense. It impacted the whole Marvel universe in some form or some fashion. We don't have those type of stories. I have a huge problem. Midtown Comics is no longer carrying Broadsword Comics and AC Comics. Well, here's the thing here. Now you begin to understand why I have a problem with AC Comics. And I knew this for a long period of time. AC Comics has been really very, very short run. And because of the whole distributor thing, they only going through like a handful of distributors now. So it's like, unless your comic book shop goes through like one of these very, very small distributors, getting AC Comics when they first come out now is an impossibility. It's hard. That's the reason why I'm keeping my fingers crossed that our buddies here, as you call him, Curly Q, could keep my AC Comics run going as far as Film Force is, because after that, it's like I told him, what distributor to try to get to, because they're not with anybody that's big at all. And trying to buy it directly from them is expensive. But I don't blame them. It's like, they could make money hand over fist by having people come to them directly. Now, Broadsword, I don't know what's going on with the people over there. But then again, I really don't have a connection with Holly all that much. She's been working more with Archie Comics than anything else here. So I don't know. I just don't know what's going on with Broadsword. And no, Broadsword is not closing up their doors here. They just been both Holly and her husband. Jim. Both Holly and Jim. They've been working on other projects. If you ever follow them on social media, they've been working on other projects. Holly has been working a lot with Archie Comics as of late here. Jim has taken up a couple of other projects, but no, Tarot is still coming out. Broadsword Comics is still in existence here. It's just, like I said, it's like with us small press publishers, it's just one of those things where unless you're with a bigger distributor, those are going to be hard to come by, and you're better off buying directly from us than trying to go with some no-name distributor. Don't be angry. It's just that's the weird nature of the beast about distributors. Just for the longest time here, and one of the reasons why most people up here asking me, when are you going to go to Diamond? When are you going to go to Diamond? It's like, I'm not going to go to Diamond because, one, we don't have a good body of work to send to Diamond. That was one of the reasons why my game plan has always been my game plan. And my game plan is, before we go to Diamond with any comic book series, we need at least 1 year's worth of books in the can, meaning that we have them, we're ready to print them, to have it already printed a version of it, or have them ready to be printed. That way, when Diamond does their pre-orders for our stuff, we'll be ready to go. Because you don't want that test and that strain where they're up here. It's like, oh yeah, they're about to get ready to offer your issue number 3, and issue number 3 ain't done. And when you get the orders in for issue number 3, you find yourself 3 or 4 months behind the timetable. Or even worse, they pick you up and then they drop you after the 5th issue because of lack of sales, because they feel that they are a publisher and not a distributor. So, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. And we could talk about that type of stuff as a whole here. And then say, yay. And we got a question. Okay, we got Micro 292 here. Question, sir. What's your take on Raw versus Graded Comics? Is it worth reading these old Silver Age comics? Yes, it is. I'm going to answer the second part first. yes, it is worth time reading older Silver Age comics. The reason being is that sometimes it's always good to know where certain characters and certain lores come from. Now, you have to keep an open mind with this part here. Older lore will always get overridden based upon who is part of the creative team at the current part of time here. So things like, for like, let's take Superman for example. Things that Superman used to be able to do in the past, he can't do now. And some of the, really oddball things here, like in like the, especially in the like the Silver Age, when we talk about Earth 2 and Earth 1 Superman, like the super intelligence, being able to calculate all this different stuff in his head in a fraction of a second and know exactly what to do in an instant. Reading it in its entirety, in its continuity, and when it was written makes sense for back then, and you will understand why they can't write it that way now. Some of the feats that Superman did in the past, he can't do now. It's also one of the reasons why I like reading Silver Age Lois Lane, because you get to see kind of like the jerkishness of what Kal-El really can be if written that way, and some of the quote unquote drama that could come from it. So yes, it is worth it that way. Now, to answer your first question, raw versus graded, you have to understand my standpoint on graded comic books. I don't grade comic books for value. I grade comics for preservation. Meaning that, for example, since I have it in front of me, 9 times out of 10, I will have an easier time justifying getting my Jungle Comics 103 graded, because the simple fact that these are low in number in circulation now. These are very hard to come by. I don't want my copy to get worse. Even though a slab may not be the best form of protection, it is a better form of protection that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt here. And then the grade on it is a validated grade by somebody that is quote unquote professionally trained and has been recognized as a if I can say authority on the grade, that has been certified at the time they did their grading. Now, mind you, grades on comic books is very subjective. It really depends on the person who is really looking at the book and inspecting the book. But I don't believe in getting something graded for its monetary value here. A 9.8 from 1970 is not a 9.8 for today, and vice versa. 0.5 from back then may be a 5.5 today. You just don't know. So it's very subjective here. If anything, what I always tell people, if you want to go into graded books here, is to sometimes you might want to think about buying your books raw first and learning the grading process yourself and learning the actual care and maintenance aspect first before you start slabbing. Now, if you're going into it for its monetary value of it, all bets are off here. But I will tell you one thing here. Raw books have been consistently guaranteed to maintain their values, or you could get a return on your invested faster on a raw book than it is for a graded book. So if you're not into preservation like myself, then you have to really be careful if you're really doing graded books for monetary value. That's the best way I can answer that question here. And then Erin is saying, wow, yes, it's worth, she's talking about Silver Age. It's worth grading, but grading is to preserve them, especially so where fax books are being printed in Masterworks and archive editions. Yeah. Leia, I helped change your mind about Alpha Flight. See, perfect example. I was the one that gave the actual argument that made Parallax it, kind of sort of meant it's like she doesn't really hate Alpha Flight like she does. And what ended up happening, Aaron comes in like Stan Lee is like, yeah, I did this. I did this. My arguing with you did this. And I just have to go like, yep. I just got Dick Gold. I just got Kirby. Aaron's taking the credit for the argument that I put out there. It's like you didn't do shit. Stop taking credit for not doing nothing. It's like don't be in denial. Yeah, you were into Jimmy Carter, yeah. Yeah, Broadstar, I could just tell Jill and Holly mailed them to me. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it's one of those things. It's just one of those things that sometimes you might have to just go that route and just go directly to the people who puts them out and just be like, hey, can I get a subscription? Hey, can you put a subscription plan out there? And if they get enough people like that, they might offer it to a bigger conglomerate. You might be able to get more and more discounts here. Yep. MyComicShop.com carries them. Yeah, they do. They do at a premium. they're not cheap at MyComicShop.com. By no means, they're not cheap. The AC Comics, yep. Parallax, but it's still worth to have high grade raw copies here. Once you can once graded, you can never read these old issues ever again. Not necessarily. That's the thing. If you have high grade older issues here, and you have to be mindful of this, you might not be able to read that copy ever again here. But like Parallax was saying, it's like you got collective volumes, masterwork volumes. They're constantly doing facsimiles all the time here. You might just have to pick up the facsimile copy and read that every time that you want to read it. Now, I mean, I could go through a couple of examples, but I don't really want to like go and start pulling out the slab of what I have and then showing you that I actually have other copies of that same issue in a lower grade or equivalent grade. That was one of the things that Parallax always joked to me about here. It's like, how in the world you have 6 to 7 copies of Savage She-Hulk #1 slab? And I was like, because I have that many, and I still got a couple more that I could actually pull out if I really want to grade those. And like I said, I did it more out of at first I did it more out of preservation at first. And then when I started getting greedy, trying to get to that 9/8 copy, I just got greedy. But because I still have copies that are a lower grade, I could pull out that lower grade copy and still read it and not have a second thought about it. So it really depends upon your collecting habit here. Yes, I still feel that having high grade raws is the way to go if you're looking at monetary value, because that way you're guaranteed X amount of dollars for said book as opposed to the graded copies, because the graded copies, they do command a premium. But the thing about it is that you have to have a buyer who wants to own the book and not, like you said, want to have it to be able to read and to enjoy the story and all this other stuff. It doesn't serve their purpose to buy a graded copy at that point. But it is what it is at that point. Yeah, it's like that's where the value is at. You can read the reprints. Yep. Yeah, if there are reprints on old newsprint, there, that's okay then to slab in my mind. And that's the thing with all the facsimiles that's coming out now on the newer paper and all this other stuff, I still feel that older readers are just, they just don't get the same feeling because it's not newsprint. It's not the same type of paper and all the other stuff. It's not the same smell, but it's the exact same stories printed in the exact same format with all the exact same ads. it's just I just don't know what else to say here. But the one thing that I really want to say is this: even with all the facsimiles and stuff, all the facsimiles and reprints coming out, it still does not have a overall factor in the original printing of it, as far as monetary value is concerned. Diluting the number of copies, whether it be first print or 23rd print, the fact of the matter that you can still get a copy of that issue is where things need to be. It's not rare anymore. That issue does not become rare. This is what always got to me about a lot of the stuff that Dynamite was doing with the multiple covers and all this other stuff here. Issue 1 is still issue number 1. You're just banking on people being more of an art hound for covers to make that money. But when it comes to the actual story, that issue 1 is still issue 1. My collection would be complete when it comes to the run of the series, regardless of which copy of issue number 1 that I have. That's where the convolutedness comes into play here. And that's kind of like where things are at here. I'm not going to reread my first print of Fantastic Four number 1 over and over and over again. Just like I don't read my X-Men number 1, my Uncanny X-Men number 1 from 1963. That's slabbed. Heck, I don't even read the Marvel, what was it called? The Marvel Master Edition number 1, the gray cover one. I don't even read that anymore. Matter of fact, I got a facsimile of number 1. I read that more so than those 2 books. Just like I kind of wish I owned, Giant Size X-Men number 1, but I got, X-Men Special Edition 1, which is the actual reprint of it. And I got several copies of that. So technically I could actually slap that and say that I do have a Giant Size X-Men 1, but it is what it is. That's what the facsimile is for. So what about having low grade raw copies there? Is it worth spending money on them instead of just to have the comic? Yes. Low grade comics should not be gawked at or sneezed at or put to the side here. The way that you need to look at low grade comics here is that you have to look at, like I said, you are free to collect however you want to collect here. But in my eyes here, low grade comics are necessary, especially the older you get, the older the comic gets, the likelihood that a high grade is not available for you to buy. So you have to think about low grade as being just buying the comic as is here. I do have several copies of lower grade issues of like Wonder Woman from Volume 1. And then I might come across a higher grade one at a later time, and I'll pick up that higher grade. And eventually that higher grade will eventually get graded and slabbed and everything. And I still have my low grade copy where I can sit there and read and be happy. So low grades are not just placeholders. I would consider them a part of anybody's collection as part of their run. Now, if you come across a better copy of it and you can afford it, buy the better copy of it. Do as you will with it, whether you want to get it slabbed or whether you want to just have it in your collection, so be it. But low grade copies of issues, especially older books, when we're talking about books from like the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, there are nothing wrong with lower grade copies here. As long as you keep them up and read them and enjoy them, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nothing wrong with it. Yes, it is still worth it. Yep. Yeah, for lower grade. Yeah, I just explained that. Even a coverless Superman #1 is still worth thousands of dollars. Exactly. Even every color of the rainbow kryptonite. Yep. She loves Super Jerk. Authority with 8 question marks. With 8 question marks. She's being funny here. Thank you for answering. I'm looking to get an original ASL Silver Age run. Oh, so you see he's looking at Ditko Spider-Man. So he's going after my heart. He's about to get Ditko Spider-Man. It would be better to buy these copies raw and just read them through other formats. Yes. But like I said, you are entitled to collect however you want. So if you want to collect them and read them once or twice, that's perfectly fine. And then keep them up, that's perfectly fine. If you just want to buy them all graded and then choose another format, whether it be digital or like Comixology, or whether it's in a collected volume or stuff to that magnitude, that's perfectly fine. But as long as you are enjoying the comics itself, have at it. And Aaron is laughing here. Yeah, the ASM comics would be from my personal collection. Excellent. Yeah, get the ASL omnibuses. For the first one, and has every Ditko book from 15 to 38. Yep. And then yeah, much cheaper than getting the originals. Yep. But it is what it is. No, you can still pre-order and sub to preview. The thing about it, previews have many different distributors applied to it. Your comic book store may not have access to that distributor, even though it may be in previews. See, that's one of the things about Diamond going by the wayside. Kind of destroyed the myth behind, oh yeah, if it's in previews, my comic book store can get it all the time, because again, Diamond had those connections with the other small distributors that kind of sort of work with them behind the scenes, the tad bit, in the shadows. And I'm using shadows, in quotation marks, but that's just the way that they worked. Now, since they are technically still in court limbo, they might be they still are in previews, they still get listed and everything, but not every comic book store can get them, because their connection to their distributors do not honor those preview orders. I understand, but as a collector and a fan, I would buy these comics graded or raw. Would buying these comics graded or raw be the best approach here? Your best approach here is to set up a budget and what you want to spend, per opportunity that you have to get these issues here. Because like I said before, there is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong here. It's based upon what you can afford and how you want to go about collecting said issues here. So the best advice I can give is set up a budget. Once you have that budget set up here, you could pick and choose which issues that you want to start off with and just work on building from there. You might not be able to get like an Amazing Spider-Man number 18 right away, but you might be able to get like, a Spider-Man number 30 or a Spider-Man number 20 or a 25, and maybe a couple in between. Maybe get like a 25, 26, and 27 off of that budget to start off with, and you keep building from there. whether it be raw or graded. Now, if you go the graded route, you're going to be paying a lot more money than raw. But I always tell people, if you're going to collect comics, try to go the raw route first. Unless you know beyond a shadow of doubt, you just going at it for the most monetary value as possible, and you just don't want to read the book. If you don't want to read the book as a whole, or you're going to use like an omnibus or a collected volume, have at it with graded. But for most people, the average person, I always tell them to buy raw books first. Get their feet wet in collecting with raw books before they start into the graded side of things here. And Parallax to say, if you want to read, get the facsimiles and the omniverses of Spider-Man. Even falling apart issues of 1 through 20 are hundreds of dollars. Yeah, depending on which comic book vendor you go to, they could be hundreds of dollars. They could be, tens of dollars. You just don't know. I have seen a lot of early Spider-Man books go anywhere between $25 to like $150 a pop, depending on its grade and everything. Oh, now she's going to call me a Jordan. Okay, whatever. Okay, thank you for the response. I appreciate it. I have this dilemma, and I couldn't figure out the best way to approach this. You have to be mindful. There is no right or wrong way to approach it here. It is what you are more comfortable with, and what is best for you to do and to actually accomplish it. If you have to do it one issue at a time, one issue every 2 months, one issue every quarter, that's perfectly fine. Or if you got a big bundle set aside to go ahead and do it, go ahead and splurge, do whatever you want. However, your main goal here is buy the books that you love and enjoy them. I try to get people not to have buyer's remorse for these types of things here. So it is what it is. And, as long as you don't have buyer's remorse, and as long as you enjoy what you buy, everybody's happy in the long run. I love my ASM Omnibus #1. Every Dicko bookie. Yep. Haha, that is awesome here. Micro, just know why you're collecting. That's a nice way of saying it there, Aaron. Hey, Aaron, shut your pie with new strip crowds. I will beanie kick you. Parallax, the way that they did the inks left more to the imagination back in the day. Only thing that's happening right now in the back of my mind, I'm just hearing the Pink song, So What? Especially the lyrics, na 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 na, I'm going to start a fight. Off of that comment. That's all I'm hearing right now. That's called shitty printing here. You don't understand. I understand that you're wow. Remastered. PSG, yeah, I see what you mean. I want to collect because I'm a fan and want to own those original copies, especially for many, many years to come. And like I said, no wrong answers there. No wrong answers. It is your collection, and you're collecting for the reason that you see fit. Hey, there's no right or wrong. Yeah, when I read a comic, I don't need it to look like a computer screen. Yeah, I'm gonna start a fight. That's all that's running into my head right now. Y'all need to stop. You still want to watch a movie on 8mm film on a bed sheet. Or it's like, so you want to watch an 8 millimeter film or Banshee or in 4K. Yeah, micro, there you go. Yep. I am a big purveyor of DC's finest editions. They are putting out now. Yep. With all the golden and silver age issues. And there's a reason for that because they know beyond a shadow of doubt a lot of those older golden and silver age issues are in terrible conditions. That's including their file copies. Their file copies are in tatters because they don't keep up with that type of stuff. It is what it is. Excellent remastering and good paper. Reprint on newsprint, blar. Oh my god, y'all are funny. Old man AA Run is like old man Hawkeye. For instance, OG Miller, Daredevil are fun to read than even the Elektra reprints that came out 10 years later. Exactly the same. The story doesn't lose anything. Just because the ink is bright, it doesn't make it better. Come on, silly. Stop being so silly. You're just own stinky Aaron. That's y'all are being hilarious. Y'all are being hilarious now. And y'all laughing here. Yeah, I like the facsimile DC put out a few years ago. No, that was on good newsprint. They were also glossy. I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to remember what was the last one that they did because the last one that I remember touching and reading. You are exactly right. It's like you would have never known you would have got that type of result off a newsprint. Yes, Ditko Spider-Man. DC does better with the paper than Marvel these days. Yes. Yes. Aaron is a big purveyor of Marvel Tales, aka the reprints of all the Spider-Man books. Marvel Tales is primarily reprints of Spider-Man. So you might be able to go that route for the older Spider-Man books at a cheaper rate if you want them in raw if you go Marvel Tales. So that's something that you might look into. Yeah, I will look into that. Yep. Marvel and Micro Marvel Tales is the actual original reprints of a lot of those Spider-Man issues. Some are broken up into two issues instead of just one, and others are not here. You definitely need the omnibus that collects, Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 38, Spider-Man Annuals 1 and 2, Strange Tales number 2, and the material from Amazing Fantasy 15 and Fantastic Four Annual 1. Yeah, Marvel Tales is fun to collect because they are the ASM reprints that were only a few years behind their original run. Yep. Yeah, they were printed in the 1970s, in other words. Yep, and plentiful, and they're not as expensive. Someone can get pricey, and when I say get pricey, we're talking about you're paying more than $20 for. But the majority of them you should be able to get somewhere on the average between $3 to $5 on average. And it's like perfect. I would definitely check them out here. You all have been a great help. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We are a community. We are a community that tries to uplift one another and be positive about collecting and everything to that magnitude. We're the one of the few groups that are out here that says, hey, you do not have to spend hundreds of dollars on comic books just to be a part of the community. We'll figure out ways for you to be a part of the group, get you into collecting, whether it be through dollar bins or spending the bigger money to get what you like and what you want to collect here. He's like, I love my Ditko omnibus. I just can't read it on and Amazing Spider-Man 33 is dope-tastic. because of the old Marvel tales, I'm actually slabbing my older ASMs, like the second appearance of Green Goblin and the first Craven. Yep. Yeah, I gave my 33 slab actually. Yep. Look at me. I'm a snob. I don't like good paper. I need the cheapest paper. y'all are laughing here. And just to let you know, the East Coast people are now officially in the future. They have entered into Sunday. So happy Sunday to you guys here. Now she went through her omnibus at Aaron. That's a shame here. I definitely will be subbing to this channel. You have been a great help, and I love the stream, sir. Thank you so much here. We welcome you to our community here for from the desk of a small press publisher. Just to let you know here, my background, I actually published my comics here. I got 4 different titles sitting here in front of you. You could go back and watch a couple of episodes here, and you can get a little bit gist of what I actually do for Assiduously Studios here, what we do, what we publish, some of the books that I actually draw and write, and everything to that magnitude here. So I'm glad that you are a part of our chat family here. And like I tell most people, From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher is your show. I make myself available for people like you to come and chat, to ask me questions, to ask me my opinion on things that are happening in the comic book industry, whether it be collecting comics, how to break into it, if you want to draw or write, anything and everything comic book related, we'll talk about here and give an honest and positive opinion about most things here. Now, there's things going to be honest and say it's not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to come out here and bash people for liking what they like. It is what it is. Yeah, I need to follow. It's like you need to follow PSG Comics on here, to Micro, and hang out with us on his show. Yes, and you never know. Aaron might be able to hook you up with some Marvel Tale comics and some Spider-Man comics for very cheap here too. You never know, because he runs, I believe, a Monday afternoon show here where he sells comics on a rather cheap basis here. Another resource for YouTube channels. I believe he might be getting ready to sign off here probably within the next couple of minutes here. Cheap Comic Book Collector Rob is another resource if you want to buy comics at $3 a pop here. He's another good resource, so you might want to check those 2 people out as well. Especially Aaron. Aaron has his shows on Monday where he sells comics here. Parallax, oh wow, I would love that. I love to do I just describe to the channel? Yes, you describe, you will subscribe to you will look up PSG Comics. That is Aaron's comic book channel here. You would just subscribe to that one here, and then on mine you just go ahead and subscribe, and you are good to go here. And then, yep, she gave the actual link here to subscribe. Yep, that's Aaron's channel. Just subscribe and hit the bell. Hit the bell for notifications. That's one of the things that YouTube always talks about. It's like, oh, you got to say that at the very end, or say that midway into a broadcast and all this other stuff. I was like, you know what? If I get there, I get there. My major thing is making certain that you guys enjoy yourselves and enjoy what we talk about here. Perfect. I normally stream every Saturday. So this my main show is the Saturday show here. And I do Comic Book Spectrum. I do that with 2 other people. You already met one. Elaine is on the show, and we have another person by Cliff Riley that I do that show with here. Comic Book Spectrum was somebody else's show, actually. It was Brian K. Morris's original incarnation, where he got together with 3 other friends and they talked about comic books and what was out there and what they liked and what they didn't like that was coming out on the comic book racks, and it grew and grew and grew until they brought me onto the show, and then from there, one by one, they kind of slowly had other projects that they were working on, and they left it in my hands. So that's the reason why Comic Book Spectrum is on this channel at this point. So that's the history about why I have Comic Book Spectrum on Thursdays and our main show here from the desk on Saturdays here. Yes, Micro, thanks for being here, buddy. You know, yeah, Aaron is a big Spidey fan. He's been reading for years. So yes. Marvel used the cheapest glossy paper ever now. You know, all the books have waviness. Yeah, I do, you know, their modern books do have a lot of waviness and everything in it because they're trying to keep costs down. And yeah, they also did Spider-Man classics when they started from AF-15 in the early 90s. Yep. Like it was called Classic X-Men in the very beginning, and then they reversed it. I hate it when they changed it from Classic X-Men to X-Men Classic. That title change was bad. Yeah, Joe is our wise sage. Aaron is the dark, and Leia is the evil princess. Nah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that. This is how I would put it here. I wouldn't be the wise sage. I would be more like using Masters of the Universe for example. I would be more like Man at Arms. Aaron's more like Orko, and you are more like the sorceress. That's the way that I look at it. Even though Leia wants to be Evil Lynn, but she's not Evil Lynn, she's the sorceress. That's pretty much it. PSG Comics, of course, thanks for chatting and helping out. That is cool. I wish I was alive during those amazing years of Spider-Man. Be quite honest here, I believe the only person that was alive during the time of those years of Spider-Man would have been Elaine. Elaine would have been actually alive during the actual printings of those books. Elaine was alive during that time. I wasn't. PSG, I'm Dynamite. Yeah, you would have been an old man and couldn't lift the omnibus, but you're around. It's like if you were around 1962 and 10 years old. Wow, you are not right here. Yeah, you're in the future. We haven't gotten there yet. Well, Spider-Man is still older than me. Yep, Spidey is older than you. My parents brought me into the world when I was like 5. Brought me comics when I was like 5 or 6. So yeah, yep. Aaron, I'm just filled with Jesus love throats. You are funny. It's not my birthday yet. It's only in the East Coast that they're celebrating my birthday right now. It's not midnight yet. Yeah, you could buy omnibussly. I can accept it. Yep. Whoa, it's like, yeah, I do. That's the reason why this title the way it is. It's from the desk of the small press publisher. I do publish my own books. You know, it's not the title is the way that it is because I do actually publish and I do bigger comic shows. I have done shows like C2E2 New York Comic Con. I have gone to San Diego Comic Con as a publisher several times over. So, you know, I talk from experience. Not just off the hilt here. And sometimes a lot of people who are in the industry still feel that I talk off the hilt, but they don't know what I know. And I don't go into anything that's braggadocious either. My daughter Beanie called Joe Unky Joe and listens to his wise sage wisdom. Joe has great bookies. I'm in his next issue that's currently being done. Yes, she has made. She's going to be in primetime Saturday night as a character. And I am the queen of sales. I find everything. I found Wonder Woman archive for Joe that was $200 for like $71 ship. Yep. She found me the one hard to find book that usually costs people an arm and a leg for way less than anything. Yeah, Joe is on 2 times a week. Aaron is on weekly. Well, Aaron is on weekly for comics, but the thing about it, he's on twice a week. Once for comics and once for music. You have to be mindful that Aaron is a musician here, and he does have a music channel where he talks about the lyrics of his music and shows the different videos and stuff that he used to comprise of his music, and talked about the backstory of a lot of the lyrics of his music. So it is worthwhile on that aspect here. Teehee, you said doo doo. Great. That's good to know. Yep. I'm searching for low price. Okay, cool. So you can read and read and read and read Ditko goodness. Yep. Remastered. She's not going to let that go. She's not going to let that go. Like I said, when Aaron did what he did, like I said, the "So What" song from Pink came into my mind. Na 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 na. He's going to start a fight. I'm going to watch a movie with the wifey. Okay, have a good time with the movie. It's like, it's like, really? It's like, I don't know. You don't have to do that, but you're so nice. No, that's what she does. That's what she does. So that's the Wikipedia entry for you to know what you're getting into here. But yeah, at this point, it's not worth the $338 here. You might be able to get it a lot cheaper. You might have to catch an auction or a book sale or something to that magnitude here. Yeah, you're not touching mine. New player, Marvel Masterworks ASM 1 through 4. Yep. Throat fry. Plus, I went over the 2-hour mark. So, and there goes my non-sponsorship here. And they still haven't reached out to me. So, but then again, I don't blame them because they moved their stuff out overseas anyway. Coca-Cola moved their stuff overseas anyway. So I shake an angry fist. They could have gave me a sponsorship before they left the United States. Yeah, 40 issues of ISL in the annual 14. Yep. Yeah, they are hardcover and paperback. Check out Barnes and Nobles. There's the email link here. Looks like, look at that. That's nuts. I paid $68 for mine. So, yep. Aaron's best songs are the one I remastered and sang along with. Yeah, go and watch. Go and watch this. Superman. Since you love resolution. Yeah, like I said, it's just like, yep, he started a fight. All right, okay, I would do some research and try to find some deals. Yep, that's all you can do. That's what collecting is about here. And that was one of the things that I tried to do, like a short, YouTube shorts on, and I stopped after the first one because it's like, yeah, the only thing you have to do is just go to like a local comic store, go to like their dollar bin, find one comic that you like, and you start your collection from there. I just didn't know where else to go with that beyond that. Yep. So at this point, it looks like we have covered everything that we're going to cover. I think we answered everybody's questions, unless there's something else that needs to be talked about here. And it's like, I love that. Cool. And that gives me at least about 45 minutes here before, midnight hits and my birthday begins here. So with that being said, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. And we got a couple of questions here. It's like, yeah. Oh yeah, you can follow her on IG. Now, if you're there it is. I'm about to say, there you go. There you go. That's her moniker that she's giving out here. So with that being stated here, we still got more conversation here. Oh no, like, oh no way, happy birthday. Not a problem. Not a problem here. So on that note, live life, grow, and be well. We're about to be out of here for another weekend here. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday for those who are in the Central and West Coast here. Those on the East Coast, enjoy the rest of your Sunday here. And we are out. Yay, he turns 10, 10 hands and one finger. Yep. And Beanie, you get to pick the finger, as long as it's not the middle finger. You get to pick the finger and not as long as it's not the middle finger. So she telling her, it's like, yeah, get ready for Dank Me. Okay, we'll do things. So as you can see, we are actually a pretty decent community. Until next week, we are out. Bye.